Alrighty, hello everyone. This is Linda Sochi Avalos coming to you live, and I am in Huntington Beach today. And I want to, first of all, thank you for joining me today on this Facebook Live. I think we're good on audio, so I'm going to go ahead and just do my triple check. While I do that, I'm going to let some people chime in and start to realize that we are live on Tuesday, as we always do on Talk Tuesdays. So I do have a couple questions for you. The question is, okay, it's because I do the video on Sundays. So is Tuesday too soon to do a Facebook Live, or do you think I should push it back Wednesday or Thursday, or is Tuesdays good? So that's my question for you. So please let me know what you think. And today on Talk Tuesdays, I want to, what do I want to talk about? I want to talk about a lot of things. So let's just go ahead and breathe and deeply, breathe in deeply, and just kind of relax, tune into our higher self, and breathe into the moment, staying into the present moment. One of the things that helps me stay in the present moment is by noticing what's going on. So just naming things like, oh, I see that Eiffel Tower image behind me. I see the clock. I am looking at my green light on my computer that says we're rolling. I am looking at my hair to make sure nothing. I see my hair. I see those trees when I'm driving. And you just start naming things, and that puts you back into the present moment. Why do you want to stay in the present moment? I want to stay in the present moment because sometimes, a lot of the times, we just get in our heads. We really get into our heads and we end up just overthinking things. We start making up stories in our head about why so-and-so did something, or why we reacted to something, or how we could have said something better, or why didn't I come up with that earlier? Arguments, just things you have to do. We just get in our head. And when we're not in our head, when we're in our head, we're obviously not in the present moment. If we're driving, we're not focusing. We're not giving the conversation that we're in, the driving, the whatever you're doing, you're not giving it your 100% attention, right? Because you're like, oh, in your past and your present and your potential future. And so staying in the present moment really allows you to receive blessings, number one, that the universe, the universe and your angels and your spiritual entourage really want to give to you. And you're able to just be open for serendipitous moments, instead of overthinking, oh, well, if I do this and I do this, and it's good to plan. But when we plan, it's also good to be open and flexible, right? Be flexible for things that are going to happen, things that might happen. So there's a saying that goes, I plan and God laughs. Because at the end of the day, we are co-creating, and we can plan and plan and plan. But if things are not meant to be, then it doesn't matter. Plans will go south, or you just have to make little modifications. So being flexible, being open to those moments of oh, this might not go that way it needs to. And I was having this conversation with another entrepreneur that said the best things to do is to plan for the worst case scenario, because you just don't know what might happen, right? You just don't know. And so that's it. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about today. I talked in my weekly forecast about nurturing. I talked about staying in harmony, right? That's the hashtag for the week. That's the keyword of the week, is staying in harmony. And value has been coming up a lot with conversations I've been having with little ones, with teenagers, adults, people that are older and wiser with me than I am, because they've been on here longer than me, or because they have had more experiences in something that I haven't mastered yet, right? I'm not perfect. Did I tell you that? Okay. I have to tell myself that sometimes too. I'm not perfect. Okay. I am a recovering perfectionist, and I'm sticking to it. That's my story. So value. I really want to have a conversation with you today about your value and how you value yourself. And as I go into this conversation, one of the things that I want you to notice or be aware of, be conscious about, acknowledge is as you're going through your day, as you're going through your week, or maybe the last time that something triggered you, right? So what is a trigger? A trigger is when you're just having a conversation with someone, or you're driving, or you're in a supermarket, your child, parent, anyone says something or does something, and it causes a trigger. It's like a trigger in your body, in your emotions, that just rubs you the wrong way. And it could be an emotional trigger where that really, like, you get upset, or you you might want to cry, right? For teenagers, you might want to cry because your emotions are a little bit cray-cray. It could be a physical trigger where you're like, whoa, I don't like that, right? And you have to physically react to that. And so that's what a trigger is. Those are the triggers that I'm talking about. That it's kind of like a reactionary response, but it's not really a response. It's a reaction that you have that you notice, and it could be emotional or it could be physical, and it just eventually ends up being an emotional trigger. It's an emotional cause and effect, right? It's cause and effect. And so think about the last time that you were triggered, right? Or when someone triggers you too much. I know hands down the people that trigger me. My mom, my dad, my sister, my best friend, people that are the closest to me will trigger me because they know, number one, they know the buttons to push, and number two, they meet what they think about me and what they feel about me or towards me, or how I am perceiving them to think about me and feel about me, means a lot to me. It means the world. Those are the most important people in my life. If I didn't mention you, no offense, that doesn't mean that you don't trigger me or you don't mean a lot to me. For those of you that know me personally, but it's those people. And the other type of triggers, right? So we have triggers that from people that mean the world to you, that love you dearly, that you love dearly, you love unconditionally. And then we also have the smaller triggers, right? Those are the people that cash register. I get triggered often by people when I'm driving that don't use their signals if they want to get in my lane, or if they're making a turn or a left turn. Like, it is annoying to me that people think that the world revolves around them, to not let other people know, hey, by the way, I'm going to turn left. So if you were thinking of turning left, I'm going to turn left. So let's not crash, or let's be safe. I'm not going to get on that right now because that does trigger me. It's really annoying. So anyway, back to those kind of triggers, right? Those little triggers, right? And I know that there's something in me that I need to deal with. That why is it that triggers me, right? So speaking of value and triggers, value specifically is what I want to go into. Is when someone triggers you, you want to ask the right questions, right? You want to ask the right questions. And it's all about, okay, first of all, why is this triggering me? Is it because, yes, of course, there's the fake, like what you see on the stage. It's because, because they cut me off. So it's their fault. And so right away, we begin to blame other people. We begin to blame, sorry about that. We begin to blame situations. Sorry about the shaking. We begin to blame other people. We begin to start name calling, perhaps, depending on what kind of trigger it is. And we begin to go into our emotions. I know for myself, because I know myself very well, and I'm still learning about myself, is that I usually go into anger right away. Especially if it's someone that I really, really deeply love, I go into anger because I have learned through my experiences that when I want to defend myself, or whenever someone says something to me that is hurtful, I come off like warrior, princess, like, don't mess with me, what's going on? So my safety zone, my ego has taught me well, as far as experiences go, to not just come off hurt and start crying, because in this world today, if I was a crybaby about everything and I was like, oh, you hurt me, number one, I get no communication done. Number two, that person has no idea. And number three, it just, for me, it never worked. Not that I was trying to manipulate people, but I've learned that crying just doesn't get anywhere for me. So when I would be angry, not that that gets me far either, but I know that that's my initial response, because I've learned how to protect myself that way if I didn't have an adult around, or when I was taking care of myself, or at 17 when I had when I was independent and I just had to take the world on my own. I had to learn how to protect myself. So that is my initial reaction. So what is your initial reaction, right? Number one, that's a big question to ask. And do you do the blaming? Do you do name calling? Like, just starting to notice. It's not a matter of, sorry if you hear outside noise. It's not a matter of what's right or what's wrong, or this is how you should do it. Like, again, my talk Tuesdays are all about, Tuesday talks are all about being aware, and it's guidance and how to be a leader, and setting up a foundation for yourself as a person, as a woman, as a leader. Like, that's huge for me. And I want to share that with you, because I want you to be a leader. I want you to show up. I want you to practice what you preach and have integrity and be able to get over the humps, the hard stuff that isn't like the end all be all, right? Let's say, how many times a day do you get upset? How many times a day do you get triggered? Right? It's not, each trigger isn't life altering, but it happens. Or let's say, for instance, like with my dad, he used to always upset me when he would text me and he'd say, oh, well, it's 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, over 30 years old, young. Like, okay, Dad. Yes, I'm very well aware of that. What is your point? Right? And so instead of me hashing out as warrior princess, like, yeah, I don't care, I'm going to do what I want, and act like a teenager or a young, immature person, doesn't mean all teenagers are immature, then at that point, I was able to say, okay, what is it about me? Like, so it's our own perception of how we think people see us, how we think people view us and love us and think about us, like that it's unconditional, or that they have us, like they're only viewing it from our eyes, when we don't know how other people are seeing us, unless of course they tell you, right? So this whole session, this whole talk is about being aware and not judging yourself. Don't judge yourself, and you don't want to judge other people, because at the end of the day, if someone upsets you and they keep doing it over and over and over again, you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to talk to you anymore for like 2 weeks because you don't know how to treat me. Okay, well, that's immature. That's very non-effective communication, because of the fact that you're still going to end up talking to them. And if you just need a time out, a time in to check in, then just go ahead. That's fine. Go ahead and be upset. I do that. But if I'm like, oh, well, if you're trying to say it because you're punishing the other person, then that's a whole different ball game. It's really about, okay, let me check in with myself. Why is this triggering me? Why does this bug me so much? Right? It's really all about, I wish I had a mirror in front of me, looking in the mirror and saying, this bothers me because I think that about myself. For instance, I used to be I'm human, so I'm critical sometimes. Yes, it happens. Oh my gosh, the world is over. So yeah, I criticize sometimes. I'm very well aware of it when I do it, and then I'm like, okay, stop. Sometimes, most of the time, I try. Did I mention I'm human? All right. So I look in the mirror and I say, you know what? I'm critical. I used to judge other people, certain people, whatever. I can't even think of a topic right now because I really am conscious about it now. And I'll tell you this, now when I see someone that's judging someone else or me, I have a different perspective because I know I was judging others because I was judging myself. I was judging myself for things I didn't have, or for the way I would act, or what I did have or what I didn't have, or how I would treat people, how I wouldn't treat people, people in my life, people not in my life. Let's say if I had a boyfriend, or if didn't have a boyfriend, right? So for instance, in that, I'm going to go into an analogy there. If I saw something that someone else had that I wanted, right? And this is typical, unfortunately, I see it a lot in the Latina culture. And I see it in other cultures as well. It's not just Latinas. One of my friends, she said that in her culture they call it keeping crabs in the bucket, which makes sense, right? That's what we want. But sometimes we feel like that, oh, well, they have something I want. And so what do you call them? A lot of Latinas, they would, or women, forget the Latinas, a lot of women would be like, oh, well, this bitch, da 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 da, right? Okay, that's judging, that's criticizing, and that's really being upset because you're not taking the action steps, or because I wasn't taking the action steps and holding the vision that I could have it for myself too. So now what I do is I bless that person. I'm like, oh my gosh, congratulations. I am super duper happy for you because I know and I believe that I'm going to have that for myself too if I really want it, if I take the action steps to have it. So does this make sense? If it makes sense, please like or let me know that you're viewing because that helps me. And yeah, so being conscious, being really, really aware of what triggers you. And then what happens after? How do you react? What's your thought process after? Are you blaming? Are you taking responsibility for your actions? And again, this isn't about judging yourself. This isn't about judging others. It's just simply an observation so that you can ask the right questions and then go into a deeper level of learning as a human, evolve spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. Because that's what we're here for. We're definitely here to support each other. And so that's why I'm here. I want to support you. I want to see you grow on any which way, level, however many levels you choose to do that for yourself. But it all starts within. It all starts within. And so that is the talk. That's what the talk is about today. And so in the keeping with the harmony keyword of the week and the weekly forecast and winning, and it's not so much losing, it's learning, right? We win or we learn. Then go within. Go within today. I that is my challenge for you if you choose to accept it. Is just really go within, find harmony within yourself and find out what are your triggers. How many times are you getting triggered? And notice your process and see how you can change it. The toughest and the most challenging parts of the day-to-day life as a human being is maintenance. Is to say, oh my gosh, yeah, that bothered me. Why did it bother me? And oh yeah, that's right, I'm growing. I have to probably fix this within myself first. Because the minute that it doesn't trigger you anymore is how you know that you've evolved. And it's how you can tell, like, wow, I have changed. Because I do believe that change is possible when you want it and when you work for it. But maintenance is one of the toughest and challenging moments to do. So that's my challenge for you. Yes, I went deep. I definitely want to hear back from you. What are your challenges? What's your process? Talk to me. I'm here. I want to talk to you. Leave comments. Subscribe if you haven't to my YouTube channel if you're watching it on a replay, or share. Definitely share my video. If you're watching live, bless you. God bless you. If you're watching live, then please stay tuned for the YouTube link, and then you can share that as well. This is Linda Xochitl coming to you live on Tuesday from Huntington Beach and on Talk Tuesdays. Leave a comment, like, love, and let me know what's going on with you. Sending you a lot of love and angels this week. Toodaloo.